Hi, I'm Debra Mastaler, and welcome to the Link Building Fundamentals session. Link building is an integral part of the SEO process, and today we're going to take a look at 4 different components of link building and how they can work with your SEO. Your takeaway from today's session should be the following. It's really important that when you're building links that you use a wide variety of tactics on a wide variety of sites. Keep in mind that your goal when you're building links is to become the authority. So spread your links and your link building tactics throughout. All right, here's what we're going to cover today. We got four parts of this today. I'm going to rock through the first 3 and get to the 4th, because the 4th is what everybody really likes to hear about and really wants to hear about most of all, is what you tell me in the feedback. But the first 3 are really necessary, because without them you kind of get screwed up in the last one. So we're going to go over the concept of link popularity. If there's nothing that you listen to me for the rest of the day, if there's nothing that you take away from this, please understand what the concept of link popularity and how it works in SEO. Because without it, the rest of it just becomes kind of wasted time. So that's real important. Influencing factors. These are some of the things you should maybe stay away from. Now, in the last couple of weeks, we've had some major swings. Some big things that have happened, some big sites that kind of got whacked. And there's reasons for that. So let's just talk about those quickly in factors. We're going to talk about tools. Everybody loves their tools. And then we're going to go into tactics. And I focus on tactics that are working currently. Okay? Hello. There we go. So link building is not SEO. Okay? And SEO is not link building. It's a component of SEO. And links are just the whole fiber, the natural conduits of the web. That's what links page to page to page to page. And the link graph, we can't even comprehend it anymore. It's something like, I think they tried to recently, was like 750 trillion links that were out there. So it's major, it's monumental. And those search engines crawl all of those links and they take them into account when they do their ranking. In the beginning, we had some really groovy search engines, names like Search Hippo and Mama. That was my favorite. And all of these search engines and the ones that we have today, what they did in the beginning is that they looked at the content on the page. Okay? Unfortunately, we figured that out as astute SEOs that we are. And we were able to write and put things on the pages that made absolutely no sense. And so the results that were coming back were just a pile of crap. All right? And so what happened over time is that search engines grew and they changed. And what remained then were pretty much what you see here. Blecko and DuckDuckGo are 2 of our smaller guys. Yahoo and Bing, they're in this together. Yahoo's getting a lot of stuff from Bing right now. And of course, the big nut is Google. So these are really the 5 that we have that drive most of the traffic online. What all 5 of these guys share? Maybe we still do have that issue with my slides. It seems like we had some problems earlier. Is the fact that all of these search engines use link popularity. All of the search engines have different ways of ranking, but they all use this concept of link popularity. Okay? When you look at an organic search result, what's on the left-hand side of the page is what comes up organic. What's on the right is paid. And the way that those results get there change with those 3, but pretty much they all use the same types of things. They all use different ranking factors like, on copy, load times, but the big nut, of course, is link popularity. There's over 200 of them in there, so we know, a little bit about what makes certain things go, but not the whole picture. But we do know, just based on what we do, that link popularity is probably 9/10 of it. So what exactly is this thing we call link popularity? Well, it measures the quantity and the quality of links that point toward a web page. Now, we're very lazy in this business, and we always say, well, you're linking site to site. Actually, you're not. You're linking page to page, but we just use the words interchangeably, and even I do that, so it's really page to page. All the major engines use it. It's considered an off-page factor. It's an off-page factor because the links, your links that sit on other people's pages and link into yours, that's what's really driving the juice to your pages. It has some slang terms to it. We call it link pop, link juice, link love, whatever. Green pixel dust, if you will. It is all the term what we call link popularity. Link popularity has 4 components: link quantity, link quality, anchor text, and relevance. The quantity, self-explanatory. That's the number of links that point at you from external sources. In this particular case with CompUSA, these are all links that are sitting on other people's sites pointing in. They all get counted. There's a numerical factor there, okay? Excuse me. Quality. Quality is determined by the authority of the host sites and the sites that link to them. So if you look at this, 1, 2, and 3 all link into 4, and 4 and 5 all link directly into your site. Your site is the green guy. Now, does your green guy also get the link juice from 1, 2, and 3? Yes, you do. It's just a flowing effect. It flows in, it flows through links. The most well-known concept of quality is PageRank. PageRank is indicative to Google. It's only indicative to Google. Yahoo uses TrustRank. And Bing uses something we think is called NetRank. They're very quiet about that part of their algorithm. They don't talk a lot about it. But Google is only for PageRank, and PageRank is a quality indicator. And in the big picture of things, it's a really small piece of the ranking pie, okay? Anchor text is the third one. Anchor text is the clickable part of the link that you see. It's a query ranking indicator. It tells you and I and the search engine what's coming next. Now, in this one, it says learn more about sleep apnea. If I clicked on sleep apnea, do you expect to learn about diamond rings? No, you expect to learn about sleep apnea. So the weight is given to the term that's hyperlinked. It's an endorsement, both for us and for the engines. Now, I said earlier, we don't know a lot about Bing. We don't really know a lot of definitive stuff from all of the engines, but on this one particular point about anchor text, Google has been, and Bing have been very clear about the emphasis that they place on it in helping us rank. Anchor text influences the queries your site ranks for in the search results. It doesn't get any clearer than that. So when you're building links and you're dropping them all over the web, it is in your best interest to use anchor text that's your site has been optimized for. These are called keyword-rich anchor text links, and that's always our goal. If I had a site, and this is just a really a basic SES 101, SEO 101 kind of a reminder here. If I dropped a link on the left on this site that said Sleep Apnea of Alberta, I think, Society of Alberta, it links into my page, okay? My page has been optimized for the term sleep apnea. This is where the term anchor comes from, okay? Your external links are linking into the terms that your site's been optimized for. It's in the title, it's in the content, it's in the header tags. It's everywhere on there. It's optimized on there on anchor text phrases on your page. This is optimum. If you're going to drop links, have them point to pages on your site that have been optimized for those terms. You will see much, much faster results, right? Relevance is the fourth one, okay? So we had quantity, quality, anchor text, and relevance. Relevance is the last one. Relevance kind of tells you what neighborhood you belong into topically and geographically. So if you ever notice when you go on a site on the machine and you type in a query, what comes up is a bunch of search results, and then one is cached, and then right next to it, it says similar sites, right? Those similar sites, if you click that, those are all the sites that the search engine relates to similarity to your particular site. All right, so if you're in there, and those are the sites, and that's your relevance. That's where you are supposed to be from a topical standpoint. Relevance. There's a great tool. It's not free anymore, though. Darn it, they just took it off the market being free. But TouchGraph had this tool, and it could show you visually. If anybody, can you look at this and just shout out an answer? Can you look at this and tell me what keyword neighborhood all of these sites are clustered in? Actually, it's student loans, but close, really, really close. And so I can see this, right? You can see it. Search engines can see this. So when you get links, and you're getting links for student loans, you're getting them from diamond sites or sleep apnea sites. Well, I mean, it could be that you're doing a sleep apnea study to pay off your student loan, but probably not so much, right? So keep within your linking topical relevance area when you're getting links. Your goal should always be to get a large number of links from quality sites using keyword-rich anchor text and from thematically related or relevant sites in your niche. Possible? It's really hard. And it's really hard even for somebody like me who's been doing it for a really long time. So what I look for is to at least get some of these when I'm doing my link building. But this is kind of link utopia here, if you will. But this is very, very difficult. All right, so again, link popularity. Anchors quantity, quality, and relevance. The next one we're going into is some of these things that you should avoid. And this is what I call the Tony Soprano of linking. Probably not in your best interest to be hanging around with these guys too long before you get whacked, right? So these are some things that might throw up red flags when you're building links. And that means that's the politically correct way of saying don't do this. So when you get a lot of links quickly, very, very quickly, if you have, behind your website, you have a link graph. And if you only have a handful of links, or if it's been your historical background to get links slowly, when you start getting a ton of links all at one time, what happens is typically you don't get yourself into trouble with the search engines, you don't get penalized, you get ignored. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I don't like being ignored. And if I'm spending time and money building links and putting the effort out to get those links, I want them to work for me. And I want them to work for me when I put them up. This type of tactic probably gets you ignored and those links sit for a long period of time before they start to work. This is probably not in your best interest. Don't use the same anchor over and over. You've optimized your pages for multiple keyword terms. Don't cut yourself short. And besides, if you're linking into your homepage using the same text over and over, your homepage isn't optimized for that. You're not getting the full benefit. You've got lots of anchors, link over and over. But the other issue is, if all you ever link with is diamond rings, hello, eventually that's a path. Like I said, these search engines read and they study backlinks constantly. That's a path that they can follow. Linking to the same page over and over, you've got multiple pages. Deep linking into your site is just a must anymore, especially for what's going on right now with the algorithms and the way that they're handling content. So you need to start deep linking and finding ways to deep link. And the only way really to do that is to have some content rich and some decent pages to link into. So link inside and always use a wide variety of tactics. Now, here's the thing about flags, okay? In the old days, it used to be algorithms were flags, and the algorithm is still the number one and the big flag. But now we have reviewers, and what's even worse is we have the engines pushing people to do spam reports. So you've got snitches everywhere. So you need to keep your stuff looking natural and keep it flowing, because if the algorithm doesn't, your competitors do turn you in and you spend an awful lot of time trying to explain why you need to get out of hot water. When you're looking for partners, it's really, really important that you look for decent partners, bless you, that you look for decent partners and decent partner sites. It's not a good idea. You are responsible for whom you link to. You are not responsible for who links to you, right? I mean, you can't help it if Debbie Does Dallas links to you, right? But you can certainly help it if you link to her. So that is taken into consideration in the algorithm. And those sites and those pages are factored into your link graph. So make sure you really, really screen your partners carefully. Keep your links and content areas and out of the UNAV sites. You know what UNAV is? You got navigation on left and right along the bottom. There is, well, we don't know this for a fact, but it's pretty much well known that page segmentation takes place. And so when they're looking around and they're looking at sites and they see an awful lot of links that are in the footers, they'll either send somebody in to look at that or they will algorithmically discount those links. So stay out of the footer areas. Site-wide links are probably not in your best interest. And understand too that all links have value. Everybody turns their nose up at no-follow links. And depends on where they are. I will too. But I tell you, if I can get on the Wikipedia and they're all pink, they're all no-followed, I'm there in a heartbeat. Because the traffic and what I can do with that link, I can expound that and expand on that and get do-follow links to them down the road. So before you say no, take a really good look at the site before you say no to the no-follow link. Okay? Tools. Everybody loves tools because time is your worst enemy when it comes to link building, especially those of you that have multiple sites. And this is typically why most people have issues, if you will, or have trouble or complain, is because they have so much to do and they have minimal amounts of time. I believe, before anything else, that education is the key to doing anything. Find one of these places that you like, that you enjoy, and that you're comfortable with, and get involved with them. Now, as a disclaimer, I write for Search Engine Land religiously, and I'm a moderator on the SEO Book Forum, so I will plug those two first. But a lot of these forums and all are going private, so that a lot of the tactics are kept within those four walls. and that information is not being shared and spammed. And that's normally what happens. Somebody gets a hold of a site and then just gets spammed to death and it doesn't become effective anymore. I really advocate going into the private discussion forums if you can. But there are some really good sources here. You know, Barry's got the round table, the dojo, Dave Harry and those guys. I'm also on the dojo. I love the dojo. They're awesome folks and they share. The other thing is I have made some of the best friends in the world from being on the forums and being in places like that. So it's not also online, it's who you know, not always what you know. Get involved. I cannot live without these sites. I cannot do it. I set my alerts for these sites and I have information there. The one thing that I do every day after the Washington Post in the morning, especially SEO by the Sea. Now I'm not a patent person. I don't follow patents religiously, but Bill Slosky owns SEO by the Sea, and he has a way with words that is just amazing. He can take these very complex patents and put them into, ABC English for Dick and Jane here, because I can't figure all that stuff out. And it will tell you what they're dropping patents on and what they're looking at. And this kind of helps you, because when you see the search results popping up and going, that's why they're doing that, they're running patents on these particular types of algorithms. Find one of these sites and just browse through them and become familiar with them. I tell you, if you do, your competitors probably are not, and you are ahead of the curve. Michael Jensen owns Solo SEO, and he put this little utility linking tool together. And this is also a tactic. So if you want to put this down in your tactics as well, what it does is it takes a list of common phrases, and I just picked some of them here. And the keyword that I chose was running shoes. It's an old joke in the conference business. The first thing Danny ever used as a keyword example was running shoes, and we've kept it ever since. It will then pair it with all of these search terms, like add website, submit website, list running shoe site. What you do is you click on those links, and it will take you to a list of results of sites that will allow you to add your website, and that site is on running shoes. It will allow you to add your website to it. Hire an intern. Find one on Craigslist and have that person go through and do this with every single keyword term that you have. It'll take them about 3 weeks if they are diligent going on, but you will net out a lot of links. There are a lot of these old sites that are out there that accept submissions. It's no-brainer linking, actually. What it also does, too, that I really think is groovy is it gives you all the directories. So all these little niche directories and hobby sites that people have going out, it will list them, and it will tell you different blogs and forums that talk about running shoes. Most links, profile links on forums, are do follow. And if you belong to a forum, it puts you into a relevant topic. It puts you into that relevance area so that you have your links and your conversations are on sites that are talking about running shoes. So it puts you into that relevance area, okay? So you can see how that issue of link popularity works into even a simple tactic like utility linking. I love this little site because I can line it up and it will tell me what Google and Bing both say visually. I'm a real visual learner. Some people are auditory learners and some people are visual learners. I'm a visual learner. And it shows me what is ranking well for Bing and what is ranking well for Google for my particular term, sleep apnea. Now, in the old days, we used to optimize for different sites, different pages for different sites. It was the dumbest thing we ever used to do, but it was 1997, what can I say? And so we all had mullets then too. So, we optimized different, well, some of us did. And we optimize differently. What this does is it shows you the sites that are ranking well. Now, if Bing thinks it's a good site, and Google says it ranks within the top 5 or top 10, is it probably a good site to get a link from? Yes, it is. It is. So this is a great visual tool to be able to compare the two search results. These are more free tools, the Backlink Watch, the Analyzer, and the SEO plug for Firefox. I work in Firefox, but I cruise around in Chrome and IE all the time, just because I can. And I like to see what different things come up, and the results are different in different browsers. So, so these two, the first two, Backlink and the Text Analyzer, they will pull all of your links back and separate them out by anchors. So you can look at anchor text. It's pretty simple, usually fairly simple, to take a look at a page and figure out what anchors they have pointing at their site and why they're ranking for a particular term. So these are good for that. And if you run these on your competitors on a pretty fairly basis, what happens is you'll see when they start doing a link campaign, and you can either follow suit or you can follow their trail of where these links are coming from. This is real important. Paid tools there's quite a few paid tools. These are the 4 that I have had experience with and use. Like I said, if you just do link building tools on your machine, they will all pop up, or hit similar sites on any one of these, and they will all pop up. They're fairly similar, differently priced, different people own them. Like Chris said last time in keyword tools, it's always a good idea to run more than one tool at a time, because not one tool has access to all the link data that's out there. So keep doing it. Now, I have never understood why anybody would use Yahoo Explorer to figure out their strategy on Google. But if you want to do that, Yahoo still has the Site Explorer up, although it's a little wonky these days. It's not returning a lot of relevant results anymore. But that is also another one that's free, is the Yahoo Site Explorer. You know what? You buy a tool, write it off on your taxes. It's an expense of doing business, and these tools are definitely a little bit better. One thing I didn't put in my slides, and I want to say real quick, I can't live without my alert services. Cannot live without them. I run about 250 alerts a day. I pick the top 2 keywords for each client, or just on my development sites, and I run them constantly. Google Alerts does a great job, but there are private alert services too, like Watch That Page, Track Engine, all of these things. Again, if you sit and you look for copyright or copy alert services, they will come back at you. I know exactly what my competitors do every time they sneeze a link on the web. Every single time. And I'm able to take that information and use it to my advantage. Not only go after them and get the same link, but I can think proactively where I need to be as well. Especially if you watch their linking structure, and watch your ranking and how they're ranking, you can pretty much see how things will change and how rank starts to change. So you want to be proactive always in watching what they're doing. The alert services are great. This is the Hub Finder tool from SEO Book. Again, that little disclaimer about SEO Book. But I will tell you, this is the one thing that I cannot live without. This is part of the paid arsenal over there as well. This is a co-occurrence tool. And what this does is it takes 2 sites, and it tells me all the different sites that are linking to those 2 sites. So typically, if you're number 4 and you're number 5, by the way, I just did 2. You can use up to 4 sites comparatively, but I just did 2 because I only had so much space on the page here to use. I can tell you all the sites that are linking to all 4 of them, or linking to 2 of them, and what anchors they're using and where they're coming from. And this is really good information, because if I'm trying to bump up into that 1, 2, or 3 spot, I know that the links that are pushing my competitors into those spaces are solid links, okay? They're really good links, or they wouldn't be ranking the way that they are. I can analyze those links and either get the same ones and then get them better. So the co-occurrence tool makes it super simple for you to find those links that are linking to all of your competitors. But I gotta tell you, if I had to pick one single tool that I would use above anything else, the one thing that I would pick is a kick-ass copywriter. Because right now, copy it's what making pages rank. You can find someone that you're comfortable with, that knows your industry. Hire that person. I don't care what costs. Hire that person and keep them employed writing content for your site. I'm going to show you some places where to put that content. One little tip. I'm going to go off script for just a second. I use Craigslist whenever I want to find copywriters. And I find copywriters in the cities or in the areas that I want to hire them from. I always look for somebody that has newspaper experience. Why? Well, they have newspaper experience, which means they know all the people in the newspapers. So if I go to them and I'll hire them and I'll say, okay, look, bud, I'll hire you, how good are you still about getting content into the newspaper? Most people, they can still do it. And the other thing is that all these journalists, they know each other. It's little incestuous areas out there with journalists. And so one knows another, knows another, knows another. Guess what happens? All you need to do is incentive. Give him an incentive, give him a bonus to get that content placed in those news sources. So look for people who have journalistic background. That's Debra tip. All right. let's go into the tactics. Let's go into the stuff that we can do to actually build links. Show me the links. He was so cute when he was younger. Okay, so I just off the top of my head pulled out 32 link building tactics that, are commonly talked about. And they're great tactics. They really are. They are awesome tactics. They work. And there's, I mean, look at them. There's a wide variety. There's just so much more than recip linking and doing directory drops, right? So which one is the magic bullet? It's one question everybody always says, if I had to pay for one thing, what should I pay for? And I always suggest that before you ask me that question, that you go to the SERPs and you find out what's ranking, okay? Because whatever is ranking, those are the authority tactics and the authority links that you need to get, all right? It tells you, ranking, whatever is ranking out there, will tell you the path that you need to follow. And basically when we talk about authorities, is we talk about the sites that rank either 1 through 20, 1 through 25. I always use 25, it's just a nice number. Most people use 1 through 10, 1 through 20. Those sites, when you look at them, for any term, I don't care if you're using competitive terms or if you're using long tail terms, secondary terms, the sites that are coming back in the SERPs are the authority sites in the site of the engine. Yeah, they wouldn't be there ranking in those prime spots if they weren't. And they're ranking there because of the way that they have content and they have links, all right? So let's look at this. This is, the glasses on here. What did I do here? Digital cameras. This one's on digital cameras. I pulled a couple of competitive terms. Would you all agree that digital cameras is fairly competitive? A lot of heads, yes. Digital cameras, okay? And this is what comes back in the SERPs. And by the way, these results are about 3 weeks old. So the first one that came back is Best Buy. It's a brand, okay? D-Preview, it's not a brand, but it's been around since 1997. Digital Camera Headquarters, another one, been around since the turn of the century. We've got news, and we've got the Wikipedia. So what we have ranking are authority domains. We've got a news site, and we have Wikipedia. Okay, those are the results coming back in the SERPs, right? Credit cards. Competitive term? Yep, competitive term. Let's see what comes back. News. Creditcards.com has been around since 1999. Visa, brand. Credit Card Guide 2000. And video. We have a new one there, all right? Dog grooming. Competitive? Not so much. We have about.com. That's the site, about.com. Or about. I'm not supposed to say my southern. I try not to do the southern thing. Find a Groomer, which is another one that's been around for a very long time. We have a local result, or places now, whatever the heck they're calling them. We've got Groomers, Odor Destroyer, and a Wikipedia search result, all right? All of these sites have been online for at least 5 years, plus Wikipedia and local. This is for Bing, okay? Won't do just Google. We believe in equal opportunity here. This is Bing. We've got the Wikipedia, we've got about.com, we have video, we have some same sites. We have groomers.com. So if you knew and you kept looking at all and you were running through your keywords, I just gave you a wide variety of keywords to make a point, okay? But if you were running your primary and your long tail keywords through here and you kept getting these types of returns over and over and over, where do you think you'd place your efforts? You probably place them in getting news sources, in getting authority sources, video, local, and about.com and Wikipedia, because this is what's coming back in the search results. Now, everybody always says how hard it is to get around Wikipedia. It is. It is really hard. I have never in all my years been able to trump the Wikipedia, so I use the Wikipedia. I'm a big user. And that's what Wikipedia is there for. Wikipedia has 351 million people a day that use it. Okay, so I just use it a little differently. And so should you. Now, getting on about.com is far easier than getting on Wikipedia. But if we cannot bump Wikipedia, we can, that old, probably are not old enough to remember this, but there was an old commercial years ago, I'd rather fight than switch. Well, if you can't beat them, join them, right? And that's what we do in these particular types of search results. So this is where we focus our efforts, okay? This is where we focus our efforts right now. So many people focus on running around dropping bazillions of article directories or just directories in general or reciprocal linking, but this is what's coming back in the search results. So this is what we're going to try to affect. So let's start with news. Hello. A little slow. When we talk about news, we're talking about getting links in the news. We're talking about media mentions. We're talking about getting ourselves included on Google News so that we come back in that snippet known as news. One of the things, too, about getting a lot of media mentions is that it helps provide you with that issue of being in your relevant source. It helps you in that being your tag that you're supposed to be in that particular type of industry. It helps with anchor text. News sources are not always the greatest thing in the world about dropping links in their sources. But I will tell you that once you get on somebody's radar, typically newspapers write secondary pieces and they write weekend pieces. And you can get into those and you can develop those relationships. And if you're sitting there thinking, oh, I will never get into the Washington Post or the New York Times, I have gotten people in who are non-brands, small moms and pops, mommy bloggers, you name it. They are looking for relevant news and relevant content. So it can be done. You can do it two ways. You can become the source or you can share a story, one or the other. Now, the most common way people know this is by doing press releases. And you know what? Press releases work just fine. They really do. You get some backlinks with press releases. Occasionally, if you write the press release the right way, and that is make sure that you hyperlink your keyword term in the title of the press release, because that's pretty much what gets picked up. Those press releases do get reprinted on news source sites. One of the things I'm having much more, success with is using niche wire services. Now, everybody in here is in a niche. Okay, there's nobody that's general. So, I mean, you can use the general press release services, that's fine, but everybody's in a niche. There's automotive, every demographic, whether you're Chinese, African American, they all have their wire services. Every religious group, every union group, everything. And there is a way for you to find a niche wire service. Use them. A lot of them are free. And what that does is it takes you down even deeper into the trade magazines and into the less publicized news sites. But what it does is it really helps get your name out there in those particular trade industries. Be sure that you put in your press release that you're willing to give interviews. So many times people just put contact information but nothing else. The reporter needs to know that you're accessible and that you want the interview. Ask for the sale. In the interview, in the press release, it's asking or telling people that you'll give the interview. I cannot tell you how many times I am constantly asked for interviews on behalf of clients when I stick it in there. By the way, all the services, if you just use that keyword phrase and search on them, they all come up, the paid and the free, and I use both. I use PR Web just because it's one of those old things that old stick in the mud people like me do. But I also use a lot of the free services because, like any tool, not everything touches everything, and I want to make sure that everything is touched. So use a couple of wire services. There are several places online where you can go and get the names of journalists and journalist bloggers, okay? Cyber journalists, the list just lists them by topic and by area, and it's a free list. You can pick it up. You can go to Yahoo News. It lists all of their different newspapers and dailies. And like you want to try to get down into the trade journals. You want to try to niche down as much as you can into the different publications. I am a huge believer in buying Bacon's List. Bacon is actually owned by a company called Cision, C-I-S-I-O-N, I think it's called Cision. But for years they were Bacon's, and what they do is they publish a book, a huge book, and it will tell you every single person that writes for every single publication, dish jockey, television personality, you name it, anybody that's connected with the news. It's pretty cheap, it's like $500. And we will use that. I use it religiously. But when I do, I get on those people's radar, and inevitably we get stories into the media with them. Buy your lists. Journalists are on Twitter. It's like they discovered Twitter, They're all over Twitter, tweeting, because it's another avenue for them to be in the news. These lists are all free, and these sites are all free. Get on them. Find out who your Twitter journalists are, and start tweeting at them. Follow them and start tweeting at them. Use it as an icebreaker. Hey, I follow you on Twitter. I saw that you tweeted about new cars yesterday. I've got this awesome white paper that I just wrote on, the habits of women buying new cars. And I guarantee you they will use the content. They really do. By the way, just as a reminder, all of our slides go online after the show or after the day. It usually takes a day for them to get up. So all of these things are hot. So when you click on the slides, they'll take you to the links. They'll take you to all of these places. Now I'm going to tell you a little trick. This is another Debra trick. Getting into Google News is not an easy thing. They've gotten even more stringent recently with some changes that they've had. So what I've decided to do is I try to make every site that I work with, this is part of my shtick, if you will, I try to make that site the go-to authority online for news in that area. Now in this particular instance, there was an apparel company, clothing company. And what we did is we ran, very simply, all of the news through a widget on their site. So anything that was published on apparel, we ran it on this guy's site. So if you were in the industry, you could pop over there and read it. So we became a resource. And then I decided we needed to kick it up a notch. And we accepted press releases on this guy's site. So anybody that was running press releases in the apparel industry could come to my site free of charge, this one, and drop their press releases. Well, guess what? All of a sudden in Google News, what started popping up? The press releases that they were running through our site, except look who they were crediting for having the information. My client. Okay, so that's how we got into Google News. You do have to apply to go to Google News. There's a little bit of a process, but if you just go on the bottom, it gives you this, there's a URL on the very bottom. It tells you step by step what you have to do to become a Google News source. It's really not that difficult. But what we did, again, is we became the focal point in the industry. So we accepted press releases and ran them free of charge for our folks. And there's software. You just go out and look for press release submission software, and you can put that on the site. And also we ran the news. And we to make this known, we ran press releases to let people know that this was happening. We contacted all of those media people that I have in my Bacon's list and that I was tweeting on Twitter and that I'd had from cyber journalists, and we let them know that this particular place was available for them, and we had them using it eventually as well. So we became the source, and that's really what you need to do with the media. About.com. About.com has been online forever and a day. It is one of those places like the DMOZ where you just can't, they don't just take anybody's site and add it, but it is a huge resource that comes back in just about every search result between it and the Wikipedia. For every department or category on About.com, there's an editor, like this guy, for home equity loans. His name is Justin. And old Justin here, and he's cute, girls. I thought he was cute. And so I included him, and what he does is he has his information. Justin is a step above a lot of these guys. Not everybody has a forum. Most of them just edit their categories. But he has a forum, too, that he maintains on the About.com site. So if I was interested and I had home equity loan content for old Justin here, I would approach him through the contact information on the site. I would review what's already on About.com, and I would do better. I would have content, and I would send it to him, and I'd say, hey, I see that you have this on here already. How about including my content? I'd get involved in the forum, and I would do everything that I could to get old Justin's attention here. Most of these guys are looking for good content, folks. And if you've hired that kick-ass copywriter, he or she is writing for you, and you can provide them with the content. It just needs to be unique to About.com. But they are looking for it, and maybe 1 out of 10 times that I try do I get turned down. I just don't get turned down that often. Oh, let's see, what did I do here? One of the things too, a little trick that I have with About.com is that a lot of people, and the reason that they rank the way that they do is that people link to them, okay? There's a reason. They just don't rank because they're About.com and there's an A in their name and they go first. It just doesn't work that way anymore. They're ranking because of their inbound links. So again, I used this one for home equity loans, and this was the main page on home equity loans, and I backlinked it, and I just happened to use old Yahoo here. And I looked to see all of the people that were linking to that About.com page. And what I can find here is I found directories, I found some guest blogging opportunities, and I found a couple of 404 pages. You know what comes back with 404 and when the page isn't working, you get the 404, yeah. So what happened is the 404 was linking to the About.com. I contacted the 404. I said, dude, why don't you link to us instead? And we went ahead and we picked up the link from the 404 leads. There were some guest blogging in here. My equity loans was another one. And then I found a directory. Which one was it now? Was it? it was the allexperts.com and Moodle, Mixcat. Those are all directories. Well, those are all directories that are linking to that about.com page. What does that mean? That means that those directories allow internal deep links. And so you can add your pages to them so that they point, to your internal deep link pages. Those are little telltale signs. So backlink the pages behind the Wikipedia and behind the about.com and look for leads. Look who is linking to them as a resource, and you become their resource instead. Wikipedia does not link out in the body of the copy. It just doesn't. It only has external links down in the reference section and in external links. Now, anybody can go to Wikipedia and be an editor, but they're a little persnickety about who they let on those pages. They're typically looking for sites that have, I don't want to say branded sites, but that have some, presence on the web. And so if you go in there and you're dropping information, make sure that the references and the information that you're dropping in either one of these two spots is the same caliber, if not better caliber, than what you see here. Now here's the thing. If you go on Wikipedia, because it's been online, and Wikipedia is having a little bit of trouble because all it does is seem to whine about itself, is that not all the editors are paying a whole lot of attention to these pages, so a lot of these links and references and external links are broken. So if you come in behind it and you sign up for an editor to editor this page, you can say, hey, listen, I'm dropping this information because the current link is kaput. And drop that information and leave it. 99% of the time, the link will stay. So that's what you want to do. You want to make sure that you find these pages. These are the pages that apply to your topic in the Wikipedia, and that's ranking for you, and make sure that those links are all working. And then do the same thing. Backlink that page just like you did with about.com. It's amazing what links into these pages. Go after those people and become their source. Fourth most visited, yeah, we already did that one. All right, local, or places. I make it really simple with places, with local. I use a little service called getlisted.org, and what it does, that's my Alliance Link, my pitiful Alliance Link site up there, which is not listed on Yelp, Bing, Yahoo, Best of the Web, or Hot Frog. It's only listed on Google. You just throw your page into getlisted.org, and it will tell you if you're on these sites, if you have a local presence on these sites. If not, you just click the link, and you can add all of your information. They do all the work for you, which is awesome. But this kind of stuff is what they're pulling from into local. When you build out your social media profiles, and you should be going out, type in social media or look for all the different, there's so many niche social media sites out there. Build your profiles with your cities and your states in the anchors, okay? It lets you do that. It lets you have a do follow link in there. Make sure that you include your cities and your states in your profiles. You need to make sure that information is out there. And then all press releases for citations and links. Local press releases can be done for the city that your business is operating in. This is a little credit union that was in, I think, Tallahassee, Florida. Can't remember which town it was, but it was in Florida someplace. And all we did was just send out local press releases using the word Tallahassee, Florida in the title, and we were picked up by several of the radio stations and the television station websites because they were looking for information from that particular geographic area. So, this is basic SEO on the bottom. Hyperlink your addresses, hyperlink your streets, your cities, not your streets, but your cities and your states, and that kind of stuff. You'll get into places. You'll get into local. Basic. I could spend 3 days up here about video. I really could. Video is just phenomenal right now. This whole thing with YouTube and all the other sites that have taken off. But what I'm really focused on is the video that's showing up in the organic search results on the search engines. There is a link when these sites become available that says optimized fully. If you click on that, that is a step-by-step, is a wonderful tutorial about how to optimize your videos on all of the major sites. Be sure that you take time to do that. Tagging is huge. You need to have written descriptions. That's basically right now how this is coming out. Although we do know that Google is very heavily invested right now in software that they're looking at taking frame by frame of the video and trying to extrapolate intent. So we know that that's coming, that's down the road. But right now, they're still looking at descriptions and they're still looking at tags. Make sure that you do that. These are the how-to themes. These are all the sites that are coming back with video results. eHow, Indestructible, Wonder How To. When you look under the organic search results and you see that the video results are coming back, if it's not YouTube, it's these sites that are showing. You need to put your videos on these sites. Now, most of them all offer do follow links in their profiles and also in the written context on these sites. I don't think eHow does anymore, but the rest of them do as far as I know. So don't just go after YouTube. Do put your videos on other things and make sure that your stuff is unique. And it's got to be how-to. Step-by-step stuff works just really, really well. Make sure you have transcriptions everywhere. On your site, when you have your video, have a written transcription of every single thing that's being said in that video, and make sure that those are on your site. Oh, and then tweet them. You know, we know that to some extent that the search engines are using tweets and retweets and that type of thing in citations and in the way that they're looking at search results. So get involved with Twitter and get involved with Facebook and start making that stuff happen. Have people pass it along. Get your folks, people that are your customers, make sure that you let them know that you're on Twitter, you're on Facebook, and get them involved and get them interactive on those particular sites. There's a lot of thought process out there that Google hand edits brands. I don't know. I really don't believe that in my heart of hearts, but what I do believe is that all of these sites, the first three, they have all been online for a very, very long time. And domain authority, length of domain, the amount of time that a page or a site has been online, a URL, I think plays a big part of it. Because historically, those pages have a very heavy link graph behind them. They have a lot of links behind them. They have a lot of history. And algorithms are mathematically challenged, okay? That's what they do. They're math. And so it's easy for them to have this information incorporated and stored and used as a baseline. And because it's there, it becomes a bigger number. And that's why these sites rank the way that they do. Now, sites rank the way that they do because of their backlinks. That there is, excuse me, there's, for the most part, if you look at some of these and the pages that come back, there's not a tremendous amount of content on them. So we know that the links are really doing a huge amount of the driving force. When you're building sites, when you're going after authority sites, it can be a little overwhelming. So I break it down, and I suggest that you look at this and see if it's comfortable for you, but break it into two types. You do competitive mining and you do content development. So you look at these links, you look at those sites, and when you're backlinking them, this is what you want to break them down into. Otherwise, you're just going to pull your hair out. Competitive mining is pretty simple. When you look at backlinks, separate them. Separate them out by link type. Now here's, for example, this is creditcards.com. This is just a little tiny shot that I took. I'm squinting, I put my glasses on, huh? So I found there was a Yahoo directory link coming to them, so there was a lead there with Yahoo, their editorial links, the EDU link from Wellesley, the college was about halfway down. There's a media link for Daily Local on the very, very bottom. Now, the .edu link, I kind of zero in on like most people do. That was a huge resource for content. There was a lot of paperwork and a lot of content that was on that particular site. When we contacted them, offered our content as well. They're educators, they like that kind of thing. As long as it comes from a credible source, most EDU people will accept content. So break your links down by type, break it down by editorial, foundation, and media, and try to get the same links and then some better. Okay, now you know this is why these pages are linking. Okay, and these are the types of links that they're coming from. We saw that there was We saw that there was a Yahoo link on there. And what this does is then you can then broaden out the base of directory links that you have. There's about 10 decent general directories left. That's it. There's a lot of lists out there of thousands of general directories, but they all pretty much stinko, and they're part of networks, and they don't have a lot of algorithmic push. And that's what people say, oh, I added my site to 1,200 directories, and that's great. The problem is that there's not a lot of link juice for them to pass on to your links because those sites are just not that authoritative. These sites are. But with any good directory, you need to be sure that the page is in the index before you add your link. Yahoo's having a little bit of trouble. And it's not always easy to get into the DMOZ. And occasionally some of these guys have new pages. So if you're adding your link on that new page and it's not in the index, does that work for you? It does not. So you want to be careful where you're adding your links. Just make sure the pages are there. But there's 10, honestly. They're the 10 that pass link pop with clean links. When I say clean link, I mean a do follow link. The thing is that our sites and our pages are made up of elements, lots of elements, and these are where niche directories come into play. You probably offer coupons, and you offer videos, and you have photos, and you probably do contests, you do stuff. And everything that you do on your site, there are directories for. There are tons of them. And if you use the keywords and just say contests plus directory or video plus directory, they will pop up. There are hundreds and hundreds and sometimes thousands of them in these different niches. Use everything on your site. The other good thing about these niche directories is that they allow you to deep link into your, use links from pages deep within your website. If your contest information is on a category page within your site, you can post that in the niche directories. So it's great for deep linking. The links that we found on credit card, from the university, from the college, one of the places, the second place that also came to light is that there were some .gov links in there. And you just want to kind of look, if you're in this type of niche where you can provide information to a government source, you should source them, okay? If you follow rules and regulations that are set by the government, if you're in the finance industry, say, then these types of publications will accept content. They will. Because my guy from credit card, the site from creditcards.com had content on these federal trade pages, and we knew that, and we found it, and we put it in there. So if you're governed by rules and regulations, those rules and regulations are placed someplace. And those government sites offer and allow information from other companies. Just make sure that you source it and you look for it. When you get onto a site like this, whether it be a university site or a government site, and it can be, by the way, a state or a local site, be sure that you issue a press release. Anytime you get content on a well-known site somewhere, issue a press release. So you're continuing that cycle of link building. You're just constantly building links into that particular content. And you want hits and you want links into that content as well. Another little Debra thing. I'm huge with associations. I love associations. Anyone that I do work for, I insist that they have to join all of the associations in their niche because they all do follow links, they take content, and they are a tremendous source for accepting new content and for news. So look at your associations really hard and look at things like professional organizations, all of the what are they called in colleges? The fraternal organizations. They also take membership and they allow content. All of those places, the business places, that's where you want to head. Now, most people are real familiar with e-zine articles and with all of the article directories, and up until last week, this was a perfectly fine, and I still say it is, there's nothing wrong with using the article directories for massively pushing content out. I think you just need to be a little more careful with what you're pushing nowadays. Part of what happened last week with the Farmer Update and with, or Panda, whatever you want to call it, is that they're really looking at the quality of the content that's being hosted on these sites. So you need to, instead of writing a 250, get that kick-ass copywriter to write a 500-word article and put some meat behind it and start dumping it into these places. They're still going to work. But the number one tactic that we use and we have the best result with is guest blogging. Guest blogging is, there's so many blogs online, I can't remember, there was like however many multi-billion blogs that are now active, and people are tired. They just don't want to blog as much anymore, and they're looking for guest bloggers. 300 words, 400 words, do a guest post and offer this information out. It is amazing the number of links, and when you do it for one, and the other blogs see that you're doing it, invariably we would have people contact us and say, can you do content for us as well? So it becomes a little bit of a viral issue. If anybody publishes a magazine offline, have you ever been to Barnes & Noble and you sit there and you look at the magazine rack and you notice that magazines are not done by date, they're not done by color, they're not done by demographic, they're done by topic, right? So you go over and there's all the quilting magazines, the horse magazines, and the popular mechanics. There's a magazine for everything. I could not get over if you go into Barnes & Noble, what you will find, I will take those magazines from the niches that I am in, and I will flip through them, and it is just incredible the sources that you find out of the printed magazine. Because all of those printed magazines have multiple online partners, multiple. So if I can get into the printed magazine, or if I can get into the online magazine, I have additional outlets for my content, and I always push for my clients to get in the printed magazine as well as online. Because once somebody sees you in print, offline, your credibility just goes through the roof. Okay? It just goes through the roof. So look for online sources and offline sources when you're looking at newsletter and magazine sources. The other one is this on the bottom here. There's an easy list. Easing is electronic magazine newsletters. There are tens of thousands of them out there that accept submissions. You can go through the list and find them in your niche and apply to submit your content. And all of them, again, all of this content, the reason that you're pushing all of this content is that your links are embedded in this content and then linking back to your site. And most of the time, it can link to internal pages on your site. So you're using your anchor text words, and those pages are really starting to pop. Niche directories and social media sites. All of the niche, any kind of niche directories and social media sites typically now have places where you can add content as well. Everybody is looking to become sticky. Are you familiar with the term page becoming sticky? They want people to stay on their website. They want to interact as long as they can. And so they're adding a lot of article directories and repositories on social media sites and in the niche directories. Use that tool, the Solo SEO tool or the Ontolo tool, and use your keywords plus niche directory and go back and look for every one of those to see if they have article submission areas, because they've started in a big way. And again, every time you dump content anywhere, tweet it. Tweet it. Tweet the URL in that particular place and let people know that it's out there. You need the retweets, you need the mentions, you need the links pointing at that content. Oh, let's see, Facebook too. I've had some fun. Anybody been playing on Quora? Anybody on Quora? I'm on Quora. Follow me, I'll follow you back. It's a Q&A site, like Answers.com, the same kind of thing, or Yahoo Answers. But it's new and it seems to be catching on. And it seems to be doing really well. And we have seen referral traffic from it, a lot of referral traffic from it. So I think the answer sites and places like this are still good places to go and to drop comments and to participate in with links and leads to the content on your site. Okay? Always keep your best content on your site. Always keep it to you. That's your stuff. Don't send the good stuff away. You can cut it down, you can respin it, you can make it smaller and send it out. But the really, really good stuff, you want to become the authority. You want that on your site and you want to draw people to it. And the answer sites are awesome for that. I've had good luck with Quora. All right, so if I just did, I'm going back to my guy on about.com because I used the home equity loan. I just did a campaign for home equity loans as the main term. And I used this process that I just shared with you. You know, I went in and I looked for all of these sources in news, authority, video, authority being doing all the backlinking, local and about.com. And I just had my girls, it was a week process, and we just kept doing it. And we ended up with a little over 250 links. Okay, so that's what we found just using the sources that were online. All right, so those are now added behind my client's home equity loan site. Does it work? It works really, really well. Were we able to move up in the search result? Yes, we were. So this type of thing works, and it makes perfect sense. If it's in the search results, it's what they're paying attention to, and it's what you should pay attention to, because it will help you. All right, got to wrap this up. All right, so keep the 4 components of link popularity in mind when you're building links. Every single one of those tactics that we talked about touched on at least 2 aspects, whether it be quantity or quality, most everything anchor text and relevance, right? It's still good to get a whole lot of links. It still works. You know, it really does. Site-wide links, they still work. Directory links still work. Everything still works, but it works better when it's in tandem with the 4 components and those links sit on really straight and strong authority sites, okay? Repetitive anchor text is a flag, and it's probably the biggest flag of all. It's a flag to human reviewers, it's a flag to your competition, and it's a flag to the algorithm. So try not to use the same anchor over and over and over. It's just not a good thing. Use lots and lots of different tactics. You see what's coming up in the search results. They were all different tactics to get those links. You need to incorporate lots of different tactics in your work. Create strategies around the elements. Focus on becoming a trusted, creating and distributing trusted content. I really mean it. The highest paid person in my company is the copywriter. I cannot tell you, I cannot live without my copywriter. Start making content and pushing it out, because that's what they want and that's what they're rewarding. Regardless, whether it's in your personal life or in your professional life, you want to be known for something. You want to be known for something good. And you want people to come back to your site, because quite frankly, there's a ton of businesses on the web. I cannot remember, there was something like 350 trillion sites that are now listed online. That's an awful lot of stuff to wade through to find you. So you need to be top of mind. In order to be top of mind, you need to be a trusted news source. You need to get your name and your word out through the media, because people believe and they trust what they read online and off. They really do. So those are the things from a link building standpoint when you're doing that. Keep in mind, again, everything still works. It really does. But content works a little bit better, so put your focus and your emphasis there. When building links, it's really not the type of link building you're doing, but where. So always look for trusted sources. Place your content on sites that are ranking well and that are highly visible in your niche. Always try to promote the content that you create, and remember that you want to become the news source. Thank you for watching, and good linking.
Hi, thanks. That was a great presentation. I'm a blogger, and in the interest of promoting our blog, we're trying to get links all over the place. One of the things that's been controversial is some places will link to us if we put their logo on our resources page, but that conflicts with the fact that we're trying to have a super curated resource page, because everyone's overwhelmed, and our target market is people 40 and over. They don't want 100 resources, they want 10, 15. So it's kind of controversial, and you can really burn out guest blogging everywhere. What's your advice? Should we not offer reciprocal links? You know,
it's hard to say. What industry are you in?
Career mojo, getting your career mojo for people over 40, employed, unemployed, underemployed, anything like that. You are more, that's a relatively competitive spot, so I can see where people want that. But part of it too that we have found with blogging is if you put a guest blogging, what's the thing, like rules, guidelines on your site, and to let people know that this is the way that you accept guest blogging. Sometimes it's more an issue of where you let people know. So anybody that belongs to your site, anyone at all, if you have a membership base, let them know that you have a new guest blogging program, and this is what it is. They can allow one link in the footer and so forth, and stay away from the image links. It's really, I think, more up to you and how you set the tone. And if you don't want those people on your site with their images, then you simply have to state that in the guidelines. There's a lot of people looking for guest blogging spots, though, a ton. But our best referral sites are the ones that are 15 years ahead of us, and they require a reciprocity.
Yeah, well, I mean, if that's the only way that you can get it started, sometimes too, locking in people, having people blog for a specific period of time, 10 blogs, posts, and then they can add that, that might be something that you can do as well. If it were me and I were in your shoes, I would probably do a huge press push with releases and just media pitches and all too, to let them know that you have this resource and that you're open to accept that content.
Thank you.
She cut you off.
I thought that your fashion example about incorporating industry news onto their website was really fascinating. And we have a sales site that's really sales oriented, but I like the idea of bringing in industry relevant information. To what extent do you think that should stick to our content and our business, or we should branch out beyond to what our competitors are doing, what's happening within the marketplace, and other efforts beyond us alone?
In this particular instance, and in the times that I have done that, they are encompassing. They take anyone and everyone as long as they're within the industry. So even though it is a competitor, they would accept them as a press release submission on the site, or they would focus or roll that news on their site through the art. And those are all RSS feeds, by the way. You just stick them on there in the widgets. It's pretty simple, actually. So yes, they do. And what that does is it makes them, I don't want to say, it really ingratiates everybody. They really like it, you know, and they become kind of the golden child in that particular industry. But remember your goal here. Your goal here is to be part of Google News. And so even if Joe competitor runs a press release on the site, when it comes up on Google News, it's your source that comes up on Google News, not Joe competitor. It's the link to your site that comes back. That's the trick behind being the news aggregator. So accept anyone, you know, be embracing, be welcoming, because your goal here too is to become the source, the one place that people go for that information. And you're going to have your competitors there as well. But when it comes back to the linking part of it, what's coming back on Google News is coming under your domain.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi there.
Hi there.
Great presentation, thank you.
Thank you.
Quick question about international backlinks. I work for a company that is having a little bit of a problem where all the markets we target in other countries are actually still hosted on the same root domain. So for example, we're for every country we're targeting, we're using a subfolder to target those countries. We're not using that country code top level domain. So do you have any tips for international backlinking to the same root domain?
Mm-hmm. Do it in the language of origin. And yes, I wish
or
either and or into the content too, and let people know that those category pages, those parent pages are there by doing the releases in the language of origin. So if it's let's say it's Italian or Spanish or German or whatever, do them in those languages and go through those wire services to let them know that those components are there. Depending on the niche that you're in, one of the hottest topics right now is translation. I live in Northern Virginia. I live in Washington, D.C., in the district. And the number one language spoken there, people think is Spanish. It's not. It's Korean. And so anyone that we work with locally, we have the site translated, you know, into those languages, and we let them know that it's there. So you want to do the media push to let people know that that information is in the language of origin. No, I don't, actually. Typically, they'll all come back in the regular link building tools that you have. Have you put all of those subdomains or those subfolders, if you're calling them, into the country-specific directories too? There's many of them out there. For example, Ezelon has one that focuses on South America, on the UK, on Canada, on Asian markets. You might be able to search in some of those too for linking opportunities, but as far as I know, I'm trying to think if there is one even out there that addresses that, and I can't think of one off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'll have to write that down and look.
Hi, Debra. Great presentation. You mentioned DMAs. Is DMAs still worth getting into? And if so, how the heck do you get them to let you in?
The DMOZ still operates. The DMOZ is still Google's directory. Until they go away, I always recommend that you consider becoming part of the DMOZ. There is a little trick I use. If you go to the DMOZ and the page that you think you're supposed to be on, 99%, let me back up for a second. I was a meta editor for DMOZ for many, many years. And so we kind of have an idea of how the internal workings of it works. And 99% of what people submit, they submit to the wrong category. And the editor either doesn't push it along, or they do push it along and it just gets into the backlog. But most of the time it's the wrong category. So on all the category pages, it tells you how to submit a site.
Okay, and that's the keyword term, submit a site, plus the keyword. And if you can go to the category pages, look on there for a phrase, some sort of indicative phrase. You typically will find, how do I say this? You will find a way, make sure that you're in the right category, and that's the biggest thing. But you will find a lot of the old editor pages that come back for that particular term. A lot of pages for the DMOZ, they're in the index, they've never been changed, they just kind of sit, they're orphan pages, and on the bottom they have email addresses for all of the editors. And if you search on those terms that you find on the category pages, those pages will come up and you will find the email links and leads into the people that write those pages. If not, go to the next category up. So let's say you're running shoes, but there's no editor and you can't find an orphan page. Go to the next page up, the next category up, until you find a human being. And you can write them. They have to have their email addresses on there, and you can let them know that you've been trying and you can't get in. Be sure you have your name, your address, and a telephone number on your contact page of your site, because they look for that. And you've submitted to the right category. Without the contact address, they won't put you in the DMOZ.
Thank you.
Google made an attempt to reduce the number of content farms or spam pages that were hosting content that were coming back in the search results, because there's been a lot of complaints from people like you and I that when they go and they look for a term, they're getting a crappy page back. And so they went into a process where they looked to reduce spammy pages within the index. And some of the things that we thought we think that we saw were more AdWords on the page than content, unrelated sentences that didn't make any sense, that they were generated by a computer, maybe, or respun multiple times. Some of the article directories that take very small articles, like 200-word articles, they just seem to have fallen out of the directory. So it seems to have been their push. So I think the idea here is to write better content on pages that are not overwhelmed with AdSense, and make sure that you're not, if you're spinning something, maybe spin it just one time instead of 42 times and then sticking it in every single directory. But they hit some of those sites pretty hard indeed.
Curiosity question. I've heard people say use interns for doing some link submissions, that sort of a thing. Mm-hmm. But if you really want a good link, I know from the other side, I've got a site that's got pretty decent power. And if I get a request for a link that isn't coming from someone who's actually got a little bit of time that's spent thinking about it specifically, I'm not even going to pay attention. So how do you scale that up and make it interesting from a standpoint of your link building and not just be one at a time? Because I can hire a young person to do something, but I'm not sure that they'll have the experience to be able to be relevant with the person who's on the other side.
It's always hard to find good help, isn't it? I use a point of commonality for anything that we do. One of the reasons why we like to use the associations and we like to be as positive and as proactive on Twitter is that I can use it as a point of commonality. So I hire that kid or that person, I'm sorry, and say, I need you to write all of the people in the association and tell them that, you know, we have this particular promotion going, and we'll co-promote if, you know, the link is given, and so on and so forth. When I use the point of commonality in the association, it really lightens the burden off of that $11 person an hour, and it opens the door for me. Same thing with Twitter. Hey, I follow you on Twitter, and I have the interns do that. I've never had an issue with interns, but then I have a very strict and static blueprint that they follow, and so they know what they're supposed to do. But always use that and give them that tool so that they're not futzing around with the site that maybe they shouldn't be. They're already a pre-qualified site as well. But the point of commonality is huge.